So now I'm not calling this R7 anymore. So in fact, this camera is going to be now called the R7S. Side-by-side comparison between the R7 Speed Booster to that of the R6. What are the differences between these two? And you, the audience, have an educated decision whether you want to make your R7 into an R7S, or should you skip the R7 altogether and go for an R6 for video. So now comparing the R7S to that of the R6, first we noticed that having a speed booster on, you're not exactly having a full one-to-one readout of that of a full frame. It gets pretty close though. Now if you look at the side-by-side comparison between the R7 and the R6, you can tell that there's actually a little bit more headroom, and all settings are matched perfectly. Both are shooting with a 50mm STM. What about bokeh? So if you look at the background, you can tell that pretty much both of them has indeed some bokeh. But unfortunately, I don't have a poster of some words that we can really tell. So let's check that out later in a later session. Now let's look into color contrast between these two cameras. Some of the colors and the contrast gets reduced as well, right? So you can see there's a reduce in terms of how saturated the colors look on the R7 to that of the R6. So if you're really into colors and you want to get the most natural looking Canon colors, you know, very, very deep contrast and high saturation, probably you want to go for the R6. Now, looking into recording in 4K, which will overheat, presumably the R6 would overheat on paper, coming in at only, what's the record?
I think it's 20 minutes, but I'm not sure.
Now, let's look into resolution between these two cameras. One of these cameras can shoot at 4K fine, 7K downsample, and that is the R7. 7K R7. Now we look into R6, 6K R6. So basically it takes a 6K sensor and compresses down to 4K. So theoretically the image that you get from the 4K is pretty high quality. However, arguably 7K is 1K more. So technically you're getting a better 4K out from the R7. Now coming from the fact that you have speed boosted it, I do see a little bit of a drop in terms of quality and sharpness, but overall, I cannot stress enough in terms of how much I gain just by having that extra depth of field that I can now see the extra sides. Having that 50mm is now having a 56mm as opposed to being an 85mm. So that's a huge difference, right? From a 56 to an 85. So that's one of the advantages of you having a speed boosted R7S. Now, in the other category, let's look into autofocus. So, you need to
You want me to
you need to like autofocus, man, like, you know what I mean? All right, so
okay.
then the next category, let's look into autofocus between these two cameras. So,
I'm gonna let you be in the frame.
I don't know, I can't see the screen. I'll tell you when I find out, okay? Like, I can't see. Okay, now let's look into autofocus between these two cameras. Does having a speed booster affect your autofocusing? Let's find out. Okay, 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay, can you see me? Am I in focus? 2. All right, so enough fooling around. I can't tell you the results right away, but I'll tell you when I'm into the editing room. So let's look at the price of the R6 versus the R7 plus the speed booster. R7S. Now the R6 comes in at about 8,999.
Somewhere there. I got it cheaper new.
Yours is a special deal, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it for 820, right?
8.7.
Oh.
New.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's about 8.7. You're gonna get the brand new R6 at about 8,700 versus the R7, which is 6,299. With the speed booster cost, that's going to cost you about 1,200. So you're essentially spending 7,400 on an R7S versus an 8,700 on an R6. So in conclusion, now that we have shown you a couple of real-world examples of these two cameras, what do you think? Would you prefer to shoot the R6 for photo? And would you prefer to shoot the R7 for video? In my honest opinion, I think that the R6 champions in terms of having a full frame, and you can basically crop on the R6 on video mode. So basically you get both worlds. You get the full frame, sort of full frame with a 1.1 ratio, and you get a crop sensor. So I think that R6 still reigns superior in what a short video format works, which is what your style is for short videos.
Yeah.
But in long video formats, exceeding 30 minutes, and obviously your camera can't record more than 30 minutes, and it pretty much overheats. So it says.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten it to overheat before?
Once.
There you go.
Long form.
And even coming from the R7, using it professionally and using it as a YouTube video, long format as well, I've never actually gotten it to overheat. Yeah, with this in mind, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to support this channel, head over out to my affiliate link in Pond 5. Basically a stock royalty footage where you can purchase some of my previous project videos and use them in your own personal project or for a commercial. Purchasing them gives you a little bit of royalty footage which I can use to then budget into my next video for my YouTube videos.